Hi, welcome to my new video on SER Powerhouse, which is the companion tool for Kontent Machine and GSA Search Engine Ranker. And what it does for the most part is it synchronizes your projects from those two tools. Kontent Machine is easily and far and away the most powerful content grabbing and scraping tool for internet marketers you can find, and GSA Search Engine Ranker has become the only real link building choice, only real link building tool since things like SE Nuke went south. I've read recently the SE Nuke might be coming back, but yeah, okay. But GSA is affordable, it does the job, but, and I've mentioned this before, if you go on my blog demondemon.com, you'll see many times I said it just doesn't offer you the control. Well, now that problem's more or less solved. I would still say you have to be careful, but that problem's more or less solved because with this tool you can have the control. Now, a couple of apologies for a start. What I'm not going to do here is do a full tutorial on how you use SER Powerhouse, because the Kontent Machine guys, Georgie and whatnot, have done a fantastic set of tutorials that I will link to below on the YouTube video for this, and also on my blog. I'll actually put the links to those. I might put the videos in as well, so you can watch those. If you want a tutorial, it's all there. Likewise, there's fantastic tutorials for GSA Search Engine Ranker. I've done some as well, and I'll link to those as well. It's not to teach you those tools, they already exist. This is really just to say why would you use this and what functionality is most important. What I've done here is I've dragged this out. You can drag one of those out. You can drag a project out from this left hand toolbar, and this is your target site, so you can have it linking to your target site. How do you use this though? And what are the main features you should be looking out for, and where is the real value? So if we click here, and this opens up the radial sort of menu, we pop in here, and first of all I'm always going to look at the power user settings. I'm going to go through each of these settings, each of these here of the menus, and tell you which ones I think are important and which ones I would change to get the best results. So I'd always use power user, and I'll put screenshots of these below so you can see what I set them at for high quality first tier links. Okay, random URL on every submission, yes. You'd put more than one URL in, you'd want that ticked. If you only had one URL you were submitting to, no, you only need the one. URL variations, so does it put the www, does it the HTTP, etc. Yes, and to what extent? I put 50%. That's standard. Root instead of main URL? No, I put that to not. What that will do is it will link to the root domain of the site rather than the internal page that you've probably specified. Now what that'll happen is if you've got a large blog, if you have that set to 50%, 50% of all the links made will go to the root, and that's going to be a problem after a period of time, because if you're promoting more than one product, more than one page, you'll eventually have millions of links to the root, and you may not want that. Use that with care, or use that very low, or at least I would. If you've got a very small site doing one product and a couple of pages, that's fine. I would set that to 50%. It's ideal, and maybe that's what it was set for, but for general use, set that right low. So that's the first change I'd make. Collect keywords from target sites. You can, but it goes off piste very quickly when you do that, I've noticed. So no. Use collected keywords to find new target sites? No, because you'll suddenly start collecting all sorts of weird and wonderful target sites. I would use Google Keyword Planner to find the synonyms that Google considers are apt for your page. So stick your page in Google Keyword Planner, don't put any keywords in it, and see what it comes back with. Spend 10 minutes sanitizing that list to get rid of any junk that Google might have put in there, and use those as your keywords. Google's telling you what it thinks your page is about, use those, and it tends these days to come up between 800 and 1,000 keywords, of which probably a couple of hundred keywords and phrases are useful, okay, for finding sites and for using as your anchor text. Why not feed Google what it already expects to know? And I'll probably add a little bit about that in it. So no, do not collect keywords from target sites, and do not use keywords collected from target sites to find new target sites. Use Google Keyword Planner to do that, and we'll go into that at another time. Put keywords in quotes when used in search engines? No. Putting keywords in quotes, in case you didn't know, is an exact match, and not in quotes is a broad match. Use broad match. You're being very specific up here, so be a little bit wider ranging around there with this one, rather than the other way around. Try searching for similar looking keywords. No. What I've found that does in practice, if you know the Americanization or the Anglicisation, where S's are sometimes replaced with Z's, and there's sometimes spelling, or people spell jewellery with one L or two and things like that. It looks for that and some other things, but once again it goes off piste quite quickly, so I wouldn't. Right, use generic anchor text 50% of the time and domain as anchor text 25% of the time. Yes, so 75% of the time your keyword isn't going to be used anyway. It's going to be either generic anchor text or the domain as anchor text. You may want to reverse those, because increasingly people are using the domains. You may want to have something a bit more like that. It's entirely up to you. I'll try and get that on 25. There we go. Use citation. Yes, fantastic. So that's putting links to other sites, non-self-serving links. This not only looks more natural, but it also obfuscates Google's when it's trying to find a pattern. It goes to a page and 2 of the 3 links on that page aren't to you. It's going to find it so much more difficult for Google to attribute you as the link builder of that page, because you are, let's face it, you are building self-serving links here. But Google, when 2 of the 3 links or 4 of the 5 links on the page aren't to your site, Google's going to really struggle to attribute you as doing that if you're a sensible link builder and look to make a few dozen high quality links rather than thousands and thousands of spammy ones. So that's a really important one, and I tend to put that pretty high, at least 50%, but I often nudge it closer to 80%. Anchor text variation, yeah, keyword becomes keyword as an example, but also if there's multiple keywords in your phrase, it might capitalize the first word of first letter of every word. I've noticed it also hyphenates sometimes, things like that, so you get some really good variation. So I would use that. Okay, I'm going to press apply and go with that. Next, here, use anchor text from verified URL. So this is the tier filter options. This is when you're linking from the second tier to the first. I'll just run through this quickly because it isn't really what this video is about. Use anchor text variations from verified URLs. Yes. So anchor text from verified URL. So what it does, it will understand, it will keep the context and the relevance as you link out. It won't suddenly sort of lose that halfway through. Okay, here's the main thing. Use do follow verified URLs and PR must be at least. Okay, here's the issue. You need a mix of do follow and no follow, and they don't have a slider bar here to allow you to mix it. So what I might do is run 1 day or 2 days of do follow followed by a day of no follow, 2 days of do follow by a day of no follow, something along those lines. So this will be ticked or not ticked. You may have to go in and manually press that. I'd start with do follow and maybe add some no follow. You'll also find that you almost definitely will build no follow a great deal faster than do follow. So you might, if you're running the campaign for a week, you might run 4 days of do follow, and then come Friday just turn it on for no follow for a day and you've got a nice match. PR must be at least. We all know that although Google probably still calculate PR, for quite a while now, 18 months or so, they have not published PageRank, and no new website built in the last 18 months will ever have PageRank publicly attributed to it. This can cause a few issues. Okay, if you want links from old established sites, or you want to add some of those, you might put a PR of at least, and I'd go for 3. PR 1 or 2 are quite easy to achieve. Once you get to 3, it suddenly the air gets a lot more rarefied once you get to 3. Maximum amount of external links. Okay, these are set to 50 and 50 by default. I think that's wrong. External links, if there are more than 20 external links on a page, that's a real problem. But there may well be more than 50 internal links on a page, just down to very basic low-level navigation. I know on my sites, if you go to the top bar and you click within the quite simple top bar, a navigation drop-down comes down with many more links in it. And just my navigation bar has got about 30 links. And then by the time I go down, I've got my Twitter feed, a small 6-line archive for my most recent posts, and then a few links in the footer. I've made the 50 quite easily, but they're nearly all internal links. So I would set the internal links quite a lot higher, because Google doesn't really care about a site linking internally. If anything, it quite favours it. So I set that to 100. But number of external links, this is by default set to 50. And if one individual URL has over 50 external links to other third-party sites, then that could be a problem. It looks like a directory. It looks like a lot of other people have already gone there and spammed beforehand. Something like that's going on. So I set this a lot lower. 20 might be a little bit too low. It might be 25, but I certainly always set it lower than 50. So I'll make some pretty drastic alterations to these two. URL age is fantastic. I believe this is months, and I put between 1 and 2 years if you want new ones, or you can just set as high as you like. You just don't care. Actually, it's probably years, isn't it? So you set to whatever level you want. Between 1 and 1, it's just going to have brand new sites. Between 1 and 3, new sites. And then once you start getting into these high figures, you're getting older sites. You may want older sites with domain age, because that obviously plays into, if you set these right, and maybe PR will suddenly become relevant, and you can get sites which have domain authority. That may be something you want to have. The main project must have a minimum of 100 URLs. So bear in mind, we're looking at tiered filter here. So the main project's got to have quite a varied number of URLs. This second, if you're making tiered links, what you don't want to do is just have 3 or 4 links in your first tier and just hammer those with tens of thousands of second tier links, because you're going to burn them out very quickly. Google's going to de-index them. They're going to trace that back to your site, etc. So 100 is good. It's a good number of links. I would never go below about 30 or 40 high quality links, and if you can get over a period of time between 100 and 250, that's ideal. If you're making thousands of links to your first tier URL, ask yourself why you're doing that. Are you just making crappy spammy links? If you're in churn and burn, not for me to judge. Submit only to URLs from the following engine. So you can click setup here, and you can go, and this is my first and second tier setup, which again I don't think you can spam that now. I will show you. I've got document sharing, forums, microblogs, referrers, RSS, social bookmark, social network, and that's about it. If you've got videos, that's great, you can use that. Some of them I would not use. Articles and directories I don't use, and guest books I don't use at all. However, if I'm using my third tier links, which I use the third tier purely for indexing, I would use Indexer. I would use perhaps some of these others down here, like trackbacks and URL shorteners and things like that, and you'll get lots of links very, very quickly that would index your second tier, and then they would probably diminish or fade away or get de-indexed themselves over a period of time. The third tier links, they're just there to index your second tier. However, there's a slightly better way of doing this, so I'm going to press apply, pop back into here, and just show you the slightly better way of doing it. So within all of those settings you've done before, if you remember the last screen we looked at just had this column here showing. Here you can actually see all the different platforms within that sort of group. So article, there are 36 article sites. Now you may decide, yes, I do want some article links, but only from the very best and newest article sites. So I don't want some of these Article Dashboard and Article Beach, because they've been spammed to high doodle. But things like Yad and stuff like that, which are quite new, I might want some of those. So you can be much more on Joomla and Joomla blog and stuff like that. Yes, I'd like some on Joomla, because it's still quite a popular, a lot of small and medium businesses still use Joomla. I'll have that. So you can be more granular, and I would probably do all of that from within here. Right, project options. Okay. Again, we're staying in the power stuff. We're going to pause the project after. Now, this is handy if you're having to manage your page rank situation, or your follow and do follow, and you think, well, I just want it to run and etc. run for a certain amount of time. And so 1440 minutes, that's a day. So I'm going to pause the project after it's got so many links, or after 1440 minutes, and multiple thereof days, whichever way around you want to do it, by per URL or per time. Ask all services to fill in captures. Now, this is where people get unstuck. I would certainly consider getting the GSA capture solver, because it is really good, and get that stuck in there. I'd custom retry 3 times. Pause project after. I'm going to say let's have between 100 and 140 verifications. Now, it doesn't know how many verifications it's going to get. When it creates links, it's not 100% certain how many are going to be verified. It'll have a good guess, But when it comes to verifying it, which is a second process, it might get 100 exactly, it might get 115. So have a range there. Set an exact number of links will just mean it's always, you're either going to be disappointed, or it's going to have to keep stopping and checking to make sure every link's been verified and re-verifying everything. So be careful with that. Custom mode, that's a tricky one. That's with your own footprints and whatnot. I wouldn't use that. That's something I'll go into in another tutorial, because that's really one of the most complex things in here. Use character spinning when possible for stop words only. Yes, use character spinning. As you probably know, there are character sets there. I mean, an N, that something that looks like an N on the written page might not necessarily be an N. However, we do know Google knows all about that now. Randomly use typos and errors in descriptions, so you can do that. However, you're using Kontent Machine here, so you shouldn't really need to do it, because you just keep feeding it with new content from Kontent Machine, so duplication shouldn't be an issue. Place anchor text in descriptions and comments. So it's very important, so I'd tick this, it's very important that anchor text is surrounded by contextual content. So your inbound links, the content around your inbound links, is almost important as, or more important than the content around your website. It's not quite as important, but it's, well, you know, it's almost as important. And of course, because you're making hundreds of links, you need tons of this unique content to surround them. So this is definitely worth ticking that box. As far as the verification process goes, verified links must have exact URL. Yes. What that means is some sites have a blog role, or things like bookmarking sites have a role. You get archived, you gradually drop down the archive. So you start off on page 1, which has a URL, and as other people comment after you or add links after you, your comment drops to page 2. And what you'd end up doing is still creating links to page 1, your second tier links to page 1, and your link isn't there anymore. So it must have the exact URL. When to verify. So do you verify once a day? I don't know why that's 1400, not 1440, but that seems fine to me. You may want to do it more quickly. Maybe you only want to create 10 links, so perhaps you just want to verify in an hour, something like that. Re-verify existing backlinks with a spelling mistake with a G there. That's okay, you can do that. Now you can send verified links to index a service. I don't use that. What I do is I create multiple tiers here, and that's what this whole thing's all about, in fact, creating multiple tiers. Indexing it yourself, having that third level of links. The referrer sites and the URL shortener sites, they will do your indexing for you. But if you'd rather use that, then by all means tick one of those boxes. Automatically export verified URLs. Very handy if you use certain services which you can import those URLs into, that will bookmark them and do various other things, particularly if it's your first tier. There are services you can buy from websites and wherever that you can carry on promoting your first tier links or even second tier links using these services, but they need to know where those links are, or you may have something else you want to do with those links, so you can export them into a file. Don't remove URLs. So even if it can't find the link, it leaves the URL there, which is handy if you just want to do a count. But it's not so handy if you want to make extra tiered links. So I would remove them. Remove after first verification try and check emails only. So as you probably know, you need to set up an email address to do a lot of the posting, because you have to make an account and verify an account, etc. So you just want to check the emails and then nothing else. The way you'd want to do that is if you want to set up accounts first and let them age for a few days. Let the accounts age and then go back and check them. So you may just want to do a check emails only and don't verify, and then go in and create the links later. Not something I do, but it may be something you're interested in doing. You have to set up quite differently to do. If that's what you're going to do, you'd have to set up quite a lot of this quite differently. And again, that's a more advanced topic for another time. Get target URLs. Some really good search engines here. Here's the thing. Google indexes well over 90% of the internet. The biggest thing that will burn out your proxies is scraping Google. So why scrape Google? Why not accept that you can scrape any other English speaking search engine, and 80% of the links you make from those search engines will also be in Google. 20% won't be, fine, but your proxies are still there, your project's still running, everything's still working. Oh, but they're not indexed in Google. Yeah, 80% of them will be. What you're not doing is burning out your proxies, scraping Google all the time. So, you know, there are loads here that index. I think there's something like, I think it's 112 or something I counted at one point. So you can do MSN, they're much easier on proxies. You can do, in fact, I'd mix it up. I'd probably suggest 15 or 20 of them. And you'll just accept that 15 or 20% of the links you create won't be indexed in Google. But who cares, because 80% of them are, and your projects will continue to run easily. Soon as you start scraping Google and Google only, your proxies will get killed very, very quickly, and your whole project will slow down, and the proxies will burn out, and then you have to buy new proxies, and it's an endless thing. The rest of the time, if you think about it, you're not actually scraping search engines. You're going to a site, and they may or may not ban your proxy. Most don't. You're scraping from the site to get your content. You're going to a site to get your link. Again, you're not going to search engines. And you're going back to that site to verify your link. The only time you're really going to the search engines is to get your target URLs. So why would you choose Google when there's so much crossover? You'd only choose Google if you're absolutely desperate not to waste that 15 or 20% of your time, but you didn't mind your proxies burning out every couple of hours, or you had hundreds of really high quality proxies. Your choice, but for those guys who've just got 10 proxies and want this to just run and run and run without messing with it, don't scrape Google. Google's probably got it indexed anyway, no matter where you get it from, as long as you pick most of the English speaking ones here. Most of these just offer a subset of what Google offers, and picking 10 of these, nice and varied, great stuff. Always use keywords to find target sites, yes. Otherwise it starts to find target sites just using the platform that you've chosen. That, again, you can go off piste very, very quickly there and start getting all sorts of stuff. Add stop words to query with. This is brilliant. So a stop word is a word that Google doesn't bother to index, and, for, not, if, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I would like to add stop words too, and that's 50%, no problem. So what that'll do, it'll make your proxies last longer for many of these smaller search engines. Use URLs from global site lists if available. If enabled, as you know, GSA has a global site list. It's spammed to high heaven. It's the same site list for everybody, so I don't have that. You will build up that global site list with previous campaigns. Do you want to do that? Do you want to keep getting links from the same site? Are you using the same set of keywords to find the site? Most of the time I'd say no. If you're staying in the same niche, then you might want to tick this. For most people who don't want to keep either linking from the same site or have sites in different niches getting links from the same site, I wouldn't tick that. Don't add new URLs to global site list if enabled. So that prevents the new URLs that you find being added to your global site list, which is sort of what I just mentioned before, but the other way around. Use URLs linking on same verified. Use URLs linking on same verified URL support by some engines only. It's difficult, this, because most engines don't allow this. It says some engines only a few in there do, and although it's a handy way to mix things up, you really limit the number of links you're going to make, and I can't really see the huge gain for it. I can see a little bit. I can see you're messing the waters a little bit for if somebody wants to trace you and you have a manual penalty or manual review, but not really. Analyze and post to competitors' backlinks. That's really handy. It's a really handy tactic. You want to analyze and post to competitors' backlinks. Yes, why not? But it depends if you've got good competitors, I suppose. If it's a new niche, not. If you've got really good competitors, then why not? Scheduled posting should need a C in there. Allow posting on the same site again. No. I only want one link from a site to one link on one page. Per project, I only want one link from that site to me. Post the first article without links. This is great. So we're using citation, and then if you're really nervous, you can say, you know, I'm going to use that account. I've created an account, I've had the email verified, but I only want to post, I only want citation in that first one, or I don't want anything at all in that first one. Great. And you won't get a link in that first one. And what will happen is your account will probably last longer. one of the triggers to get an account banned that you've gone to all the trouble of getting created, and you've got the email verified and all that, is if the first couple of posts that you put to that account look spammy. If the first couple look well written and non-spammy, then your chances are your account will last longer. You have far more accounts last. Of course, the whole process takes longer, but assuming you're looking for quality here, I would tick that. Time to wait on further registrations. This is really short. I would have a day. I wouldn't try and register to the same site more than once in a day. And then after putting the first post up, I would wait another full day before trying to put a second post up. You know, if you're doing crash and burn, you may want to do slightly differently, but I wouldn't. So I'm going to change all of these to 1440 a day. That's 10 days I've just put there. Maximum posts per account. So how long do you want to keep adding to your accounts that you create? And 5 is pretty good, actually. That's a pretty good system. Filter URLs. Okay. Skip sites with more than, so when you're searching for sites, skip sites with more than 100 outbound links per page. Skip sites with a PR. Now we've set this up a little bit before, if you remember. Now PR isn't being attributed publicly to sites. I would probably leave that. Try to skip creating do follow links. If you just want to create no follow links, you can do that. I don't know why you just want to create no follow links, but if you did, you could try and stop doing that. Avoid posting to subdomains. No, subdomains are great. Leave that as well. Why would you want it? Subdomains are fantastic. You can get some fantastic link juice from subdomains. Avoid posting to sites with just an IP and no domain. Now, you've probably seen those. It's just the list of numbers and dots. Yes. At least 6 keywords must be present to the site. That's a little bit high, but I like 4. Now, if you've been specific with your keywords and you varied them up a bit, that's fantastic. Because what you're doing then is you're making sure that it's really relevant and contextual. So for first tier, you do want 4. So I'm going to tick that as well. Now here we've got type of backlink. I want anchor text backlinks. I don't want article. Comment, anchor text. So there's various ways of linking. So although you have a bookmarking site, do you want a bookmark with anchor text? Do you want a basic bookmark? You just want the bookmark with URL. Same with comment. Do you want anchor text? Do you want anchor text? Do you want the domain? Do you want to use a contextual anchor text? How do you want to? What sort of link do you want to create on those sites? So not only are you picking the platform, you're actually saying, I want the link to be embedded in some content in the comment section, and I want if I can't create a contextual one with proper anchor text, I don't want to. I don't just want one in my signature strip at the top. So when it says Dave Smith and I put there, it hovers and it says it's got my site backlink in there. I actually want it in the comment, and I want it to be contextual in the comment. So we've set all this up before, so you can actually leave this because it won't override the rules we set previously. So that's really quite handy. So I'd set it up like this. Again, press apply, or go back in. Filter URL 2. So apologies for these swear words here, but do you want to get rid of all those? Do you want to add some? You can create new ones. Likewise here, I don't want to create links from Iran. I don't want to create links from North Korea, and you can skip sites from the following countries and do that correctly as well. I'm going to come out of there pretty quickly because we don't really want to see those words. Okay. Next we're going to save this project, and we're going to call it test project. Save. And there we are, it's now live. And we can go in and we can connect to an SER project. And again, the videos from the guys from SER will show you that. And we can do all this. Now what we can do now is start to drag. Imagine that's our first tier. We can drag a second tier in. And we can make this first tier, we can make the second tier link to the first tier, link to our website. And you can arrange these, you can have multiple second tiers arranging to your website, and you can go in and say, oh, I'm going to call this tier 2, save. You probably wouldn't do this, but you may do tier 2 var1, save, and let's call this tier 2 var2, variation 2. So you can create some very complex setups here, and it will pull the content from Kontent Machine. It will follow the rules you set in it will set those rules in GSA Search Engine Ranker, and you can save and transfer these around. You can use the same template over and over again. It's a really powerful tool that adds some new functionality, makes interlinking of multiple tiers so much easier. It makes obfuscating any link pattern you might be creating a cinch. You can now create it's all, unless you just press go, as soon as you start messing in here, you're creating a link pattern that nobody else has created. And if you follow some of the rules I've said in this video, you're going to be creating such a unique link pattern, feeding in fresh content all the time from Kontent Machine as well, because you might export 50 very highly spun articles, each article good for tens of thousands of unique spins. Only use them 50 times though, because why would you want to even risk it even slightly? And you're making some very, very unique and high quality links. So this comes highly recommended, particularly at the price, particularly if you already own Kontent Machine and GSA Search Engine Ranker. This is almost like a no-brainer. This is the missing link, if you like. This suddenly gives you all the power you need, almost. There are some things on my big wish list, like I'd love if it could measure domain authority. It can't, because Moz are never going to publicly allow that. Or if there was a really good alternative to Moz and it allowed that. I'd like the ability to use the slider to set the number of do follow and no follow links to a ratio that it tried to keep to. But that's really small stuff, and you can get around it quite simply as well. Both of those aren't major issues, they're not killers. And knowing how responsive Georgie is at Kontent Machine, they're sort of thing that you'll certainly consider adding, even if it doesn't prove to be practically possible. So for now, it's Squitty at demondemon.com talking about SER Powerhouse, signing off.